The stormy night. It was a dark and stormy night when Sarah came home from work. She lived in an old mansion that had been in her family for generations. As she walked through the front door, she couldn't shake the feeling that someone or something was watching her. Sarah tried to ignore the feeling and went about her evening routine. She turned on the lights and settled down on the couch to watch them. But as she sat there, she heard strange noise coming from upstairs. It sounded like footsteps, but she knew she was alone in the house. Suddenly, it turned off on its own. Sarah tried to turn it back on, but it wouldn't budge. That's when she saw it, a figure standing at the top of the stairs. It was a shadowy figure with glowing eyes, and it was staring directly at her. Sarah froze in terror, unable to move as the figure began to slowly descend the stair. As it got closer, she could see that it was a woman dressed in old-fashioned clothing. The woman didn't speak, but her eyes seemed to bore into Sarah's soul. As the woman reached the bottom of the stair, Sarah tried to run, but she found that her wouldn't move. She was paralyzed with fear as the woman approached her, her eyes still glowing brightly. Suddenly, the woman spoke. "This is my home," she said, her voice chillingly cold. "You do not belong here." Sarah tried to speak, but no words came out. The woman continued to stare at her, her eyes glowing brighter and brighter. Just when Sarah thought she couldn't take it any longer, the woman vanished into thin air. Sarah was left alone in the dark, unsettling mansion, trembling with fear. From that day on, Sarah knew that she wasn't home in her home. The ghostly figure of the woman continued to haunt her, and she could feel her presence no matter where she went. Sarah never felt safe in her own home again. Sarah had never been a believer in the paranormal. She was a rational woman who believed in science and facts. But after that night, everything changed. The first few days after the encounter with the ghostly figure were the worst. Sarah couldn't sleep well, and she was constantly on edge. Every creak and groan in the old mansion made her jump, and she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. But eventually, Sarah tried to convince herself that it had all been a hallucination. She tried to forget about the ghostly figure and went about her life as usual. However, strange things continued to happen in the house. Every night, Sarah would hear footsteps coming from upstairs. Sometimes she would hear voices whispering in the darkness. Doors would slam shut on their own, and the temperature in the house would drop suddenly, sending shivers down her spine. Sarah knew that she couldn't ignore the paranormal activity any longer. She sought out the help of a psychic, hoping that they could help her, that they could understand what was happening in her home. The psychic told her that the mansion was haunted by the ghost of a woman who had lived there many years ago. The woman had died tragically, and her spirit had never left the house. She was angry and vengeful, and she would do anything to protect her home from intruders. Sarah was horrified by the revelation, but she didn't know what to do. As the weeks passed, the haunting became more intense. The ghostly figure of the woman appeared more frequently, and Sarah could feel her presence no matter where she went. When she reached the top of the stairs, she saw that the door to one of the bedrooms was open. Inside, she saw the ghostly figure of the woman, standing over a broken vase. The woman turned to Sarah, her eyes glowing with anger. "I told you to leave," she hissed. "This is my home, and I will not let you take it from me." Sarah tried to run, but the woman was too fast. She lunged at Sarah, her eyes blazing with fury. Sarah felt a cold, icy grip around her neck, and she couldn't breathe. Just when she thought it was all over, the woman suddenly vanished into thin air. Sarah collapsed on the floor, gasping for air. She knew that she had to leave the mansion immediately, before the ghostly figure could attack again. After that night, Sarah never returned to the mansion. She sold it to a developer, who tore it down and built a new home in its place. Sarah tried to put the haunting behind her, but she knew that she would never forget the terror that she had experienced in that old mansion.